blessed to have met Dr. Espen and his message and follow his message now for just over a year, and just really see how much it's helped me and know how much it's taken me from my shadow and shown me these fabulous glimpses of the light. And I can really feel that I'm here now because I'm really passionate about sharing that with people that need to be helped along that journey as well. Yeah, I feel quite touched that this is just such, it just felt so perfect. Everything just unrolled beautifully, the synchronicity of it all, timing, and just the huge congruency of my life with my yoga and breathing and meditation, and it just all rang true to me, and there was no there was no question. You had me at hello. So yeah, so I'm just here to soak up all this great stuff and immerse myself in it and learn as much as I possibly can, because I really appreciate what you said, Carl, about, you know, that we're continually learning, and, you know, I'm not ever going to stop. And, you know, sometimes it's a bit daunting and a little bit overwhelming for me, but then I think, no, what other path would I want to be on? You know, put my head in a box sort of thing. I think once you've, and I quite often say it, once you're on this train, I don't think there's no getting off. So, and I guess I'm pretty passionate about sharing all this with people that may need that kind of guidance one day, and hopefully I can benefit people with that.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
No, I love that, Lauren. Thank you. And also that reminder when you say, you know, it's tough at times, and what would you rather do? You know, just put your head in a box. And I love that, because that's being real about the journey of the human experience. You see a lot of times when we start out, like I always refer back to many people wanting to get to an experience of life that's just all bliss and one-sided. But that's not the human experience in its entirety. And the longer that we are in that elusive search for a one-sided life, the more we're going to continuously suffer from that, and at least as I see it. So thank you for being so real about it.
You're welcome.
Miss Ellen Noir.
Yeah. You can keep it short and call me Frenchie if it's easier. It's okay, I'm used to it. So what brings me to here, I guess, is because for a long time I have had, I guess, supernatural experience. That's the only word I could find. In my 20s, I never thought too much about it, about what it was. I just knew it was there. But I guess I've very much experienced every single day when I had a cafe a few years ago. And because in this place we were giving to people, we were truly giving healthy food for a community that we really loved. I was really grateful to every single day experience something a bit supernatural. And when I let that go a few years ago, I lost it. And for about 3 years, I tried to have, I guess, a normal life, which is to go work for someone, and because I wanted some time for myself. And yeah, just try to work for someone, and I have found myself, I guess, becoming a little bit depressed. And that was early last year. And so a year ago, I decided to just drop everything and go on a road trip, because I really wanted to reconnect with the field. And I was trying, I just didn't know where to start to be able to reconnect. And from that, about September last year, I came across my meditation teacher who does trance meditation. And with her, I have experienced the most profound meditation than I've ever had. And it has really proved to me that I was right. Like there is a lot more. Like I'm not just a body. I am a lot more than just a body. And that's when I just, you know, as you open up to that, then you have things coming your way naturally. And that's how Espen came to me. It came to me naturally. I didn't go to find any information. And then I went to Perth to do the QA, and it's not my mind who told me to go to Perth. It was really something else which pushed me to Perth, because I was even talking with a friend who is a medium, a very good friend of me in France. And I was asking him, I was like, I don't understand what's this feeling inside, like, which tells me I need to go to Perth. And it was such a good decision. And here I am. And since then, since Perth, I keep experiencing new things. I've started to do a bit of automatic writing. So connecting with whatever name we say. So bit by bit, I just open up more and more to it, and I really enjoy this supernatural experience. And hopefully what I learn, I know I have, like you, like a lot to learn. I hope that down the track it will just help people, whatever way it is, whichever way it is.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Ellen.
Pleasure.
Oh, you've switched around on my screens.
Keep you on your toes, mate.
We'll go with next, yeah. We'll go with Angie.
Hi, how are you? I'm here in Port Douglas, so it's a little warmer up here. It's nice. So for me, it's been a great journey of ups and downs, as it is for us all, and started quite early for me, around 15, and just been driven just to know more. What's this all about? What's this life thing? And so I've gone from so many different arenas of things, from shamanic Egyptian to mediumship and it's just sort of arrows to a path of a direction. And it's something that you were saying before, you never arrive. We're always open to growth. And I think when you think you've arrived, your world comes unstuck, just to prove you that's not correct. And so for me, it is, once you're on this path, there's no getting off of it, because there is no other way. It's just becoming the best version of ourselves and being able to share that with others in this crazy world that we live in can only be wonderful for us all to live in a more harmonious life as ourselves, and hence others that are in our world around us. So for me, in a nutshell, it's just serving others. You know, we can serve ourselves, but we need to be open to continually growing. And then there's a real desire, a real yearning to be there for others and available, I think is probably a really good word. And I draw on my experiences of life and my learnings and sharings, and learn from the most incredible people. Could even be an ant on the ground and I learn a lesson, you know, to a homeless person, or to them, you know, even a politician on the radio. Like, I just learning about myself on so many things as the observer of who I am, and sharing that with others. So yeah, that's, I guess, in a little bit of a nutshell for me.
Love that. Thank you, Angie. Yes. Beautiful. Everyone is bringing something amazing. That's the thing. I just want to remind us all that we're all here to even learn from each other. Like you said, you can learn from an ant. just reminds me, just a few months ago, there was a fly who was caught in a web in my home. And I had the time for it, so I just sat and was with this fly as it was passing away. It was incredible. I felt so honored to be there for this fly leaving its body. Mm.
Yeah.
So Brian.
Mate, how did I get here? Well, I come from a pretty structured background, and to think that I'm where I am now is just strict Catholic growing up, military early on in my life, kept having little slaps in the face all the way through, like, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. In my 20s, I had a pretty serious car accident, and I had a lady do some Reiki on me, and she actually said to me at the time that she thought I was a American Indian in a former life, American Indian medicine man in a former life. And I was sort of, what? You know, I'm a Catholic boy. This is just, okay. And then I had another slap in the face about 10 years ago. I had a severe workplace accident, and I ended up in hospital for about a week, come back to the community where I was working. I was working on Indigenous community up in the Territory, and this fella come up to me and he said, "Hey, can I have a chat with you, boss?" And I've gone, "Yeah, sure." And he says to me, "You're a light worker, aren't you?" And I said, "I'm a what?" And he said, You're a healer, you're an energy healer." And I said, "Geez, I've got no idea what you're talking about." So that sort of started me on a journey, and I actually picked up a phone book, and I was flicking through the phone book, and this ad just was flashing at me. It was lady teaching Reiki. So I went along, thought, well, go and see what all this energy healing is all about, and it blew me away. I at the point where I'm now a Reiki master, and when I heard Dr. Espin's coming to Townsville, because that's where I'm at the moment, I thought that might be interesting to go and have a look at. And every single thing he was saying was like, bang, chakras, yeah, blockages, energy, crystals, and I'm going, finally, it's starting to make sense. So, and Carl, man, since I've done that training with you, well, there's been some massive changes. But yeah, I don't want to hold up everyone else. I'm just stoked and eager to learn.
Awesome, Brian. Such a pleasure and honor to have you here. Yeah. I just find your journey particularly interesting because, like you say, you've just done such a 180. But of course, because I know your story quite in depth,
Yeah.
it was always with you. And that's the thing with this, like, it's with all of us. And it's such a beautiful gift to be able to hold that space for anyone and everyone, you know, and that's why I say this is not just for working with clients, this is for how we interact with our children. And I know a lot of that's been the case for you, Brian, how you've interacted with your kids, you know, our parents, our co-workers, even just people that we meet, you know, at the markets, you know, and again, I'm not saying this to blow my own trumpet, but, you know, I mean, I go to the farmers markets each weekend, and there's this lady that always, she's like, there's something about you. You're so different from everyone. And I'm like, okay. And, you know, you just kind of there, and you find people open up so quickly. I went to a 60th party. This guy who's like supposed to be this hard nut insolvency lawyer was like almost crying within like 2 minutes of chatting with me. And I'm like, had to put my hand on, like, you don't want to be crying here. It's okay. But here might not be the place, you know? So it's a beautiful gift that we give ourselves, and when we give that to ourselves, we give that to everyone that we come into connection with. It just becomes our way of being. So thank you, Brian.
Thank you, mate.
Miss Laurie.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here, and just listening to the first three, I'm just in awe, and I'm just so excited because, yeah, beautiful people who are willing to step up and do something that's alternative because they're listening, I guess. it's just beautiful. It's actually a really beautiful experience. So I'm really grateful. Carl, you asked me, so I'm going to do it, but it is my birthday today. I look like a mess because I had a house inspection, everything, but because I told you I would do it. It's my birthday.
Birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
And what a beautiful gift to be starting this on my birthday. So I feel like that's just amazing. And the only thing I can reflect about myself is that it takes courage, and that's why I'm in such awe of the people in this training. It takes a lot of courage to listen to the whispers of your soul and to stay steady on that path, because there's so many distractions and there's so many temptations to come away from that, come away from listening to that. So I'm always grateful for people who are willing to listen to that, because it takes a lot of courage. And I don't know why, but my soul from way young has always just had a burning desire to help people. I've never really analyzed it, but again, I just go with it. So whether it's training to be a naturopath in the past or whatever avenue, but the thing that I'm loving right now is it's like, I almost feel like I've lived my life to get to this point. And, you know, when you're dealing with shadows and stuff in your life, you can't quite self-actualize because you're wrestling those different lessons or aspects of yourself. And I just feel like I'm at a point where I come to a bit of an open field and I can just breathe and just go, okay, you've arrived and this is the path. And yeah, I'm just hugely grateful. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Laurie. Yeah, and mentioning that space, finding that spaciousness.
Yeah.
As we began, we remain. And listen as much as we can. Thank you. Miss Beverly.
Yes. I'm feeling into my hands and they're very cold. And it's cold right now. Oh dear. Okay. I think it was quite in an unexpected way that I arrived here. This is not what I was expecting to be doing. I'm glad I am. I'm embracing it. I was in my pit and it was a difficult place, and I was one in a dream and overwhelmed with love, and I was able to take that into my next encounters with the people that had hurt me. So then I went into something else and I learned a lot about myself through drawing and enacting, moving, and I was always so surprised. My drawings revealed so much. My writing, which I never thought I could do, showed me a lot about that quantum thing that Carl and Espen talk about. And I didn't give it very much thought, but my mum was sick, my father had died, I was on my own now. And so I thought, I'm going to give myself some time to do my thing. What is my thing? So I went and did a hypnosis course because my grandfather had been a very we were brought up in Africa, and he lived with the lions and the snakes, and he was always full of stories. He was a fascinating man. And so he had done a lot of hypnosis. So I thought, okay, I'll start with hypnosis. And then I went into NLP, and that really wasn't for me, NLP. But in my search, I came across Dr. Espen, and that breathing exercise and everything else in that that quantum advance was pretty profound for me. And it brought back all those reasons why, what the light was. And is it possible to get there, get back there? Perhaps that's not my goal, but if I do, great. If I don't, it doesn't matter. I know that feeling of lightness and joy and love. And even when you're in the pit, you can feel it. In fact, the pit was what took me there, to the light. So I just thought that this would be a really good opportunity to treat myself and just see where it takes me. Maybe it'll take me to helping others. I would love to be able to help others. And I believe I do, and I am, just by being me being me. And yeah, so I'm in it for me. There you go. That's me.
Cool, Bev. Yeah. The hand that gives is the hand that receives. The self and the other is one and the same. Thank you. You know you're coming up, Ali.
Last one.
Off mute.
I look like a pilot with these.
You do.
Coming into landing. Well, so yeah, a couple of years ago, I kind of turned my life on its head and stopped everything I was doing and just had time off and gave myself some space to see what comes up. And from that, I could relate to everybody's story. There's a little bit of everyone's story in my story. And there's a space. And with that, found Espen and did coaching with Carl and loved the holisticness and the depth of the work. And from that came clarity, and which led me here. So long story short, here I am.
I knew you would be succinct, Ali, but didn't know it was going to be that concise. You speak volumes with your space. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. I just really want to take the time for everyone to get to share to the extent of what they want to share. Because we're going to be journeying together over this next 12 weeks together. A lot of you, some of you are going to get to know each other a little bit more intimately than others. It'll be perfectly as it's meant to, because as you're all aware, you will be receiving coaching through this from one of your peers, and you'll be offering coaching to one of your peers. It's a really beautiful opportunity to grow through whatever resistances arise through this process. So I just want us to all here now, before we begin to dive in further, to hold that space within us where we make that commitment to show up fully, to treat this like a mature age student treats their uni degree. It wasn't me, but you know, those annoying ones up the front that take every note and are really engaged. I don't mean like that, take every note, but engage in this, immerse yourself fully in it. Be here when you're here. This is a part of this way, wu way, which is what this work is based on. Doing, not doing. If any of you ever observed a monk sweeping a floor, it's quite beautiful. Yeah. So, I must apologize that I was a little bit late with the getting the manuals to print. They went to print on Monday, but I think they got sent out today, or at latest tomorrow. So for this evening, you won't have manual. Not that you would be looking at it anyway, because we'll just be sharing a screen. So I'm going to share my screen, and I just would love for tonight. I don't want to take you guys over time too much, but is there anyone who has to leave straight on 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time? No one? Can everyone go a little bit over if we do go over? Is that okay with everyone? Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll do a thumbs up so we can just see. Yeah, that's probably the easiest way. Awesome. Fantastic, guys. What I'm going to do, so I'd like to share my screen. Share desktop. Quantum. No. Let's go to here. Manual. Okay, cool. So, like I said, so this manual is on its way to you. You will have it by the end of this week, a hard copy of it, but I've also emailed you guys a digital copy of it as well. I just emailed you in the half hour before this started. So that is in your inbox. Like I said, I'm sharing my screen, so you won't need to go to it yet, but there's quite a lot in this. But like I said, the main part of this is your ability to be in yourself. You're learning to put this within a frame. That's probably the best way of saying it. A frame that has continuity to it. And that's what makes a great coach, or at least a good coach, is to be able to hold that frame for various types of people with various types of personalities. People who want to share their whole life and just talk the whole time. They're going to want to pull that frame off you. To people who aren't going to want to put anything in the frame. That just, yeah, you know, like even people that come and their cup is completely full. Yeah, I know all this. I'm good, man. I hear what you're saying. I've heard it before, like that kind of spectrum of attitude toward you as a coach and everything in between. And so the power of a good coach, even a great coach, is to take people into your frame that you're wanting to bring them into so that they can absorb the most out of their time together with you. The wrong attitude of a coach is it's your problem to get shit done. If you don't want to participate, man, well, I'm getting paid either way. A waste of time. Not only for them, but for you, really. Your time is limited. Our time is so valuable. I value my time so much, particularly now that I have 3 children. Our time, we all have the same amount of time. How we perceive that time, we're going to talk about. We've all experienced that here. It shifts, it changes. We can shift that. But no matter how deep our esoteric experience is, or our supernatural experience, it happens in clock time. As the beautiful Buddhist monk Pema Chodron says, if we just realized that we are all ships heading out to sea, which will never find a port. We are all ships sinking. Ultimately, we will all sink out at sea. But we live under the illusion of that we will always find a new port. So consider your time this way. Let's dive in about the coaching. Let's start with, I just like to read. If you guys aren't familiar with, has anyone seen this before, The Mission of Dr. Espen Enterprises? Thumbs up if you have, if not. Okay. This mission is so big, it's almost hard for me to read it.
Spot on. Spot on, though. It's a beautiful and very clear mission statement, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Just so necessary.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. I want us all to have critical thinking here too. Like I said, we're all here sharing. Maybe it's necessary, maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. I'm not here to pull anyone out of the game that they're here to play in life. Personally. This is my game. This is the game I love. Like Bev said, I'm here for me. This is the game I love to play. I don't make that assumption that everyone has to play this game. The universe is fine. It's going to be fine just fine. It's got an intelligence far greater than the capacity of my human mind. I don't make any assumptions to know what's necessary, what's needed. I just know that I enjoy this game. We're going to go through this a little bit quickly, so I'm not going to read everything that's here. Obviously, that's not the point. Otherwise, I would just be here reading off like this manual. But I just want to speak to that. This coaching, when we talk about the outcomes and objectives, as we all know, that's just from that mission statement, that this quantum coaching is to assist people to raise their vibration, their frequency. In that speak of necessary, yes, I agree on that level, that it's absolutely, if we're going to survive as a human species, I believe that we all need to evolve into compassion, evolve into love. Does someone have a dog?
Yeah, my dog's snoring.
Yeah, I can hear that. Yeah. If it's all right, we can. If we mute any sounds.
Sorry.
That's okay. No problem. I just hope. So as you guys have been all been through it, that we measure this raise in frequency really through a subjective, quite a subjective way of measuring it. It's through the life satisfaction in the wheel of life. It's okay that it's subjective. The work is objective. It has objective parts, but it's okay that we measure it subjectively. because our only true success is how we feel about our life. Does everyone agree on that?
Yeah.
Ultimately, if I'm a bum on the street, but I absolutely love my experience, then I consider that I would be the most successful person in the world.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely right and true to have a subjective opinion about how we feel about our lives. What I'm interested in is helping people to make this sustainable. That our subjective experience of life is not just a fleeting one where we fall down in some dark pit hole that we don't know how to get out of. I would refer to the quote, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for life. Even though it's a beautiful thing to continue to have coaching, and we'll talk more about that later, we don't want to bring someone into a situation where there's a dependency on us. That's not empowering. I have two mentors, or you could say coach mentors in my life, and I have them simply because they help me to see things in me that I can't see. I recognize that as something important. I recognize that if you are wanting to be a top tennis player, you wouldn't just throw away your coach the moment you reach the top. That would be a ridiculous thing to do. But make no mistake in that we're keeping anyone from their empowerment. We're wanting to bring people into greater empowerment. And our job as a great coach, as a good coach, is to empower people. And when people see how much they become empowered through our help and our assistance and our guidance, that's the power of what we give. That's where they give recommendations for other people. That's where they would want to continue to work with us. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Cool. The roadmap of the coaching. Now, here's the point where I want to say, so Lauren and Laurie, you two lovely ladies have been coached by Dr. Espen.
Yes.
Because of the COVID situation, Dr. Espen stepped in, took some clients. We lost a lot of other people that helped out in the organization. The coaching that I coach and that I take people through is a coaching format that essentially is the coaching format that I use for many years. It's what I've created, I guess, from my perspective as having worked in psychology and research psychology, from cognitive and neuropsychology. That's the scientific points that I draw on in this coaching. Now I know Lauren and Laurie, because you coached with Dr. Espen, you would have been coached differently. So it might look slightly different. It's the same journey, but what goes into that journey would be different for the two of you. So you're kind of learning something new in that way.
I'm open to that.
Me too.
Yeah. Beautiful. Eleanor, you coached with Ethan, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so Ethan was trained by me, so he would have coached you in the same way. And obviously Ali and Bev and Brian coached with me. So I have a request, because I can't give out coaching sessions that I coach people through. If any of you feel comfortable to share your sessions with Lauren and Laurie, it'd be greatly appreciated so that they can listen to those sessions and hear how they go in real time, because they won't have had experience with receiving that coaching. So I know it's a very personal thing, the coaching that you guys have been through, but
You to do that.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Ali. That'd be amazing. Yeah.
Will we get each other's emails? I can just email them through or whatever.
Yeah, beautiful. Fantastic. Yeah.
And I'm happy to help if you want to. I was coached by Tina.
Oh yes, Tina. Sorry, Angie, I forgot about you. Sorry, yes, I didn't forget about you. But yeah, you were coached by Tina Redcover, who was also trained by me. So that would be the same as well, Angie. Yeah, no problem with that. Perfect, beautiful. So just so we're, if there's any questions as we go along, Laurie, because it's unfamiliar to you, or for you other guys as well, because you can't remember or whatever, please, there is no stupid question. I mean that really truthfully, like, as you guys understand, like anything that arises, anything that's sitting there, this isn't in the manual, so I'll just share this now. When we get stuck on an emotion, we stop learning, because now we're thinking about us and not what's there, not what we're absorbing from the other. Can anyone relate to that?
Yeah.
All the time.
Okay. It's very obvious that when we meet people, oftentimes they say, oh, g'day, yeah, my name's Brian. Oh, yeah, g'day, Carl. And then like you're standing there, you're listening to them, and then literally 2 minutes later, you're like, I don't know what the hell this guy's name is. Because we were so conscious of ourselves, of how we look and how we presenting ourselves and how they're receiving us, that we're not receiving anything from them. That's a great example of when we are in our emotional self, our intelligence goes down. Hence, any salesperson wants to get you emotional because you'll be an idiot. So that's what I'm saying. If you're caught in any emotion about anything, as in don't know what I'm doing, I feel lost, I've fallen behind, I didn't do what we were meant to do this week or anything, please speak up. No one's going to be pointed a finger at or told they're foolish or an idiot for anything, okay? So I know we've all just met each other here in this space, but feel that there's just love here and there's no judgment. We'll go through that as coaches, but we're not here to judge anything. Doesn't mean we can't see behavior as some behavior that's not in alignment versus aligned behavior, but we're all human and it's okay to make mistakes while learning. That's a continuous journey. You never stop that. And I may make mistakes on this journey as well. So let's just give each other that grace from the beginning. Cool. The structure of the coaching, as you have been through it, that we welcome our clients to the coaching. We give them the pillars of quantum coaching. These pillars talking about the hero's journey. These pillars talking about not a should or to have to journey. This is a journey of inspiration, not motivation. These are the pillars of this coaching. These are the fundamentals that we come full circle around, that just maybe started out as words for those who we coached through in the beginning, but hopefully by the end of 12 weeks have a sense of that we're living that journey to some extent. We obviously take them through the wheel of life. This is that first subjective, how do you feel in your life currently? Every week comes with a self-activity. Is this big enough on your screen, guys, so you can see this?
Perfect.
Yep, fantastic. Then in the second week, we speak about the 3 parts of the mind. This sets up the premise for the framework of the work. And this you can take into every situation, every scenario. This pertains, and again, Laurie, this will be new to you guys, but these 3 parts of the mind, we can explain this in a million different ways of how synergy happens, how flow happens, how we get blocked. It just happens to be a way that I find useful to explain it that reaches a larger array of people than anything else I know, because it's rooted in something that's personal to us. We all have a mind that we can relate to. And when we think about it, really, everything filters through mind. Without a mind, there's no human experience. So we really understand the nature of human behavior and our own self through understanding the 3 different parts of the mind. Is that clear to everyone?
Yep.
Cool. Obviously, we're going to break all this down as we go through. Just an overview at the moment. Then, if there is time permitting in that second session, we go into the root chakra. We start immediately by collapsing the first chakra, the base chakra. The activity is clear and clutter for clarity, grounding work and celery juice or salts or anything that's going to help to get the neural system to start resetting into its new pattern. We support it with something that's a strong electrical conductive. That's not the word. Conductor. With, as a lot of you would know already, but there's stuff on it in here. You can, anything in this you can read up more on your own time if you want as well. Grounding or earthing, which is hugely beneficial, so beneficial, and so few people do it. So many people leave their house, which is earthed, right? So we don't get struck by lightning. They walk out with their rubber shoes, they get into their rubber car, they get into their rubber office, they go back that direction, they go back and forth. When they're out, they're in their runners, they're in their rubber shoes. Not that many people take off their shoes daily. I would dare say that most of the population don't take off and ground their feet monthly. Who would agree?
It depends if it's winter or summer, I guess.
Depends where you live, though.
Yeah.
Depends on where you live. Yeah, it depends on your lifestyle, for sure.
There's a Carl, there's a really good documentary at the moment on YouTube. It's just called Grounding.
Beautiful. There's a Facebook group, and I'll say this right now, so just because, thank you, Bev, so much. Anything that you guys that pertains to this or anything that's interesting that you guys want to share, you all absorb it as whatever you want. Like I said, there's the Facebook group. Has everyone added themselves into the Facebook group yet? Show me thumbs up.
Yeah.
Anyone not? Cool. Share any links in there. So Bev, if you would like to go in and share a link to that documentary, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks,
Beautiful.
Bev.
About the celery juice,
Yes.
is there any on the market which is just pure celery juice, or do you actually just juice it yourself?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I'm not aware of products on the market with just celery juice, but because I just juice it, I've got a cold press juicer.
Yeah.
And I just buy celery.
Will the essential oil, which is celery seeds, does the same job?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an extract and a derivative with the oils, not the actual water content in it. And that's why I also say that when you recommend it, or I recommend it to you, it is obviously much more expensive to buy it organic, but especially for something that has such a high concentrate of water and such an absorbency, celery juice is one of those that you don't want to get that's got chemicals if you can avoid it.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, then we move through, as you know, so we move through the chakras. Sacral, we offer 2 weeks on the sacral as well, solar plexus, the heart chakra, the throat, the third eye, the crown. Then through the crown, we reset the crown. And then we finish up with moving into doing from being. So going through the wheel of life and setting ourselves inspired activity. Actually, we start from week 11 already with that as an action. But know also that these are very loosely based. This is the thing about this. It's not rigid in the way of that we have to also be fluid to cater to where the people that we work with get to in themselves. That's something that you guys are going to have to feel into. That's why being in your hands. Some you won't get all the way through, at least not in the same way. Some you'll get there earlier. And you're taken through the soul stuff, perhaps. Some of you have been through that, I know. But however we deliver it, obviously, you know, it's delivered online, and yeah, in this, just to talk about the certification of it, that from here on, you're able to deliver it like I've said to all of you, that as positions become available in the organization, you can apply for those positions, you can start working in the organization, or you can start working with this outside of the organization, taking it into your own therapy, merging it with your curriculum. I honestly, I don't want to hold that kind of IP on this. It's really for the benefit of everyone. But that's hence why there's an application for being here. I say like this, that, you know, if you give this to someone who doesn't understand, hasn't understood how to be in touch with the field, it's like giving a baby a sword that at best they will hurt themselves. So just be mindful again of that as you continue your journey with this. Cool. Does anyone have any questions so far, by the way? Anything? Yeah, cool.
I do.
Yeah, go for it, Lauren.
12 weeks that you just listed, is that how we're going to be running our coaching as well?
Great question.
What we're doing now?
I'll get to it. Thank you. I'll talk about the roadmap now of us, how we're going to run this. So we're obviously here for 12 weeks together. This course includes a theoretical component, which is what we're going through, and we'll be going through that weekly. In this, there'll be coaching skills, knowledge, awareness, best practices for client and self. I could even reverse that and say self and client, because ultimately you got to put yourself first always. It's like that whole oxygen mask thing. You got to put on your own before you put on someone else's always. And that's a responsibility in coaching. You got to think about this, that maybe your journey didn't take you into those kinds of deep treacherous waters, but there are some people who sit in deep spaces, dark spaces. Things like that you see in twisted psycho movies. You're going to potentially meet those people who have lived those as their experiences. So there's a very big, strong element of this that requires your self-care. Does that make sense to everyone? Is everyone cool with that, understanding of that?
Yes.
Yeah. The practical component I talked about, so there's the buddy up, and you're going to, it's not buddy up actually, because you're going to rotate. You're not going to coach the same person that you'll be coached by, okay? But you're going to have the same coach all the way through, and you're going to coach the same person all the way through. That's just so you really get to build that relationship as you would with a client.
Good idea.
Third component is the personal coaching and the feedback component. So that we will be giving each other feedback on our coaching, and we're going to give each other real authentic feedback. We all here understand that feedback is love, as Dr. Espen says. Feedback is love. If we can receive feedback, we grow. If we can't receive feedback, we get stuck. It's okay to make mistakes while learning. It's okay to make mistakes while learning. So feel that when you're getting coached, don't have crazy expectations. Come with none. Be empty as you know to be, as your coach will guide you through. Just be in your hands. Be there. As you coach, be in your hands. Just be there. This will mean more to you, Lauren and Laurie, if you haven't heard these terms spoken from Dr. Espen yet. Then there's the assessment and evaluation. As you can imagine, I don't care too much for how much you know your mudras and mantras off by hand. It is important that you know them for the purpose of being a coach. It is important that you understand what each chakra pertains to, the pendulum swing of emotions in all of the chakras, all the stuff we're going to go through. It is important that you do know this off by hand. But I'm not going to be like a uni lecturer and mark you and assess you on that stuff. I think that we're all mature enough here to understand that if we're going to do this work and we're going to take it sincerely, that it's in our responsibility to learn this stuff. And you're all not getting dragged here. You all want to be here. So, like I say, there's that component. But there's also a component of that there will be an evaluation in terms of your practical skills as a coach. Pardon my little baby girl. I can't mute because I'm talking, so I'm gonna have to put up with that for a few minutes. Cool. Any questions on any of that so far? No, not yes, Ali?
Just, you'll probably touch on this later, but just from a care point of view, how many coaching sessions would you have a week, or that you sort of have that space yourself?
How many coaching sessions do I offer a week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that, but it all, like, well, for me, because it's more my full-time thing, I guess, like, I don't currently have that volume because I actually feel that I need to have a bit more space. But when I have max volume in coaching clients, it's around 14, 15. Any more than that, I feel you probably start to lose touch. But again, it's going to be up to the individual, and that's the responsibility of the individual. You know, at the moment, I'm coaching 5, 6 starting next week, and that's feeling like the right amount for me for now. So it's a very relative question, and it's all, I mean, a relative answer to it, and it's relative also to your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can say that it as you guys have felt, there's an effortlessness to being in the field of space, but there's also an effort required to bring yourself back to it. Can everyone relate to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a lot of like checking in on yourself, you know, that you're in a balanced space for it. Does that help answer your question for now, Ali?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Cool. Okay, so the way we'll be going through is, you know, first week, as you see, there's a lot of content. Now, I'm going to try to get into this as much as I can as a brief overview, but your work this week will be to review these components of the training manual, as well as to review your coaching sessions. And Ali, if you could, send those out to Laurie to listen to the format of the coaching as I speak more from a coach's perspective. So listen more to these expectations, the desired learning outcomes, the professional standards, the working with energy and how we work with it. Just listen out for those, more from the precision of being that coach. In the second week, this is where you will start going through coaching and being coached. You'll go through and you'll be coaching through fear. You'll be coaching through the chakras, but you won't do 2 weeks on it. So because we've got 12 weeks and you'll have 10 weeks where you'll be working, you'll do 1 week of fear and this root chakra and 1 week on the sacral chakra rather than 2 weeks on those. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that kind of pulls 2 weeks out of it. Cool. But from here on, the format is completely as you go through the coaching. We talk about that chakra, We talk about the pillars around it. We talk about the client outcome and expectations from that. And then you guys go and do it. Then we review it in the next week. We talk about it. Then we move into the next chakra. We speak of it. You guys go do it. And so forth. Does that make sense to everyone? That's clear?
Yes.
Cool. So it's pretty simple, really, in that we just learn what we need to know about it. Then we go and apply it. Then we review it. Cool. Any questions at this point?
Carl, I just have, I don't know if it's a question, but I was wondering, is it more difficult to, well, I know it's more difficult for me to listen to my own recordings than I would be more than happy for somebody else to listen to my recordings if I could rather learn from somebody else's recordings. So I'm not listening to myself.
Awesome,
Is that
Bev.
a good idea or not a good idea?
My first question is, because I don't want to make an assumption about it. What is it about listening to your own recordings that you don't want to do?
I listen to myself and I think to myself, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. You are so full of bullshit.
Great. Thank you for being so honest, Bev. I really appreciate that. I'm going to say, because it's a recommendation to all coaching students, we always advise and recommend that they listen back to their sessions. It's a really good thing to do. It's uncomfortable. I don't like listening to myself half the time either. But it's a really good thing to sit with whatever arises. Because, and it's really true what you're saying, Bev, that we judge ourselves more than anyone else. We ultimately can't judge anyone else more than we can judge ourselves. Does that make sense to everyone? Do I need to elaborate any more than that? That makes sense, right? We can't judge anything or anyone more than we judge ourselves. Yeah, right.
One of the things I found, I've gone through the recordings myself, and I'm looking at it from a different perspective now. I'm looking at it from listening to how you were guiding me through a few of the issues I was having, which is just giving you that different sort of, with Bev, I'm sort of not saying, you know, you should do it, but I've got a lot more out of it in light of the fact of the journey that I'm about to go on. It's like, yeah, now I understand why he was leading me that way, and I'm trying to pull back this way, and he's gently going, no, come back. And I think we had 2 or 3 weeks with money because, geez, I had some trouble with it. But yeah, it's good. It's good to sort of hear how you sort of was leading me without pushing me. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Does that help, Bev, or is there?
Yes,
still...
I thank you. I thank you very much, Brian. I think that a fairly egotistical point of view as I listen to them, and I just go straight into myself rather than putting myself aside and thinking about the coaching. I'm just, yeah, totally. Thank you.
That's so good, Bev. That's fantastic. And thank you for sharing so honestly. I just want to say what comes up for me to say, Bev, is that if you feel that way listening to those recordings of yourself, there is so much growth for you to listen to those recordings. I know yeah, I understand that it will be uncomfortable, but that's what we're here for, is to sit with that discomfort. Yeah.
I'm better at sitting with somebody else's discomfort than I am sitting my own.
Always, of course. Yeah. But from sitting with your own discomfort, you'll grow the most.
Okay.
And we'll talk a lot about this in the responsibility to self to do this work. Like I say, to even receive coaching, to have that far out. I get feedback from my coaches weekly, and sometimes I'm like, why do I even listen to this? What the heck? No, you're just a dick. No, that's not coaching. That's you being a fuckwit.
Whoa.
And then some time passes and it's like, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback. That is love. That felt like,
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Okay, so truly this course is unlike any other course because we are working in the fields, like just what we talked about, challenged and confronted. You will be challenged and confronted in this. Done is better than perfect. It's a good mantra to have. Done is better than perfect. Don't strive for perfection. You'll never find it. Just get it done. You see, every time we move another position in life, we get a 360 view of something completely different than from where we were standing. Don't wait to move. Move and then wait for the next thing to arise. But don't wait to move. Move and then wait. Good way to live. Be prepared for your sessions, both in training and in coaching. So come to them really like fully. And I said this before, but I just want to emphasize it again, like take it sincerely. Not, you know, I make a distinction, and I like Alan Watts says this, don't be serious about your life, but maybe be sincere about it. So take it sincerely, that this is a real coach that's taking their time to work with you. Honor their time, respect their time, respect yourself, take it sincerely. I've already said communicate your concerns and questions at the earliest possible time. You might not be able to do that. Time might lag, and then you're going to have to be like, oh, I should have said it 3 weeks ago. The moment you know that you can say it, say it. Make sense?
Yeah.
But as you guys may have noticed in your own life, the longer you leave to say it, the harder it is to say. But the moment you say it, you feel better. Yes? There's another way of saying the moment we own up to our shit, we grow roses. Be an empty cup. Everyone understands the meaning of this, yes? If I come here thinking I know something great and listen to me, then my cup is full. So that includes me. I'm here to be an empty cup. As we go along, this will be very conversational. There'll be less about, you know, like I said, there'll be some theory, but there'll be so much conversation around the practice of it. And we can all learn from that. Far out, what a space to learn, hey? To hear so many different approaches to how people are going about getting to the same destination. Uphold the ethics and standards. Well, that just comes as a given, but this comes from this connection. Be committed to your own internal practice of ascension. What you can expect from me, well, my commitment is to guide you in the best way that I can. That might not be the best way, and it might not feel like the best way for you at times. Like I said, my mentors, many times I'm like, this does not feel like the best way for me. But recognize that as perhaps your opportunity. But speak up about it too, if there's something that concerns you. Like I said, confidentiality in any information shared. This is important because even though we're going to talk about the session that we've had, we're going to give feedback. The feedback is about the coaching and only about the coaching, never about someone's issue, never about someone's what comes up. This is very, very important because the unconscious mind or the subconscious, whatever you want to call it, won't unclench itself if it feels that it's not safe. You've all been through it. That makes sense, right?
Mm.
So please maintain confidentiality in what you share. That you share only about the coaching and not about the content. Cool? Cool. And of course, there's my deep commitment to stay connected to my own light and to practice my own internal practice of ascension. Cool. Ethics and standards. Okay, sorry. Any questions about the coaching as an overview of it? We're all good. Sweet. How you guys feeling so far? Everyone okay?
Yep.
I'm getting very weary.
Getting weary? Tired, weary?
I think I need to do an inversion or something.
Let's do that. Let's get up and stretch a bit if we need to.
Tonight, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 5 to 9. Where am I at? Cool. If everyone's okay, I dare say another 20 minutes to 9:15. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Everyone cool with that?
Yep.
Sweet. Guys got water? Okay. Everyone cool? Good? Cool. Okay.
Bev.
I think, hey, yeah? Who spoke?
I just said, where's Bev?
Oh, where is Bev?
I'm coming. I'm in the loo.
Oh, okay. Thank you. No, that's fantastic. Thanks, Bev.
Okay.
Well, you can still hear us, so that's good.
Yeah.
We just
That's
don't want to
good.
hear you.
Maybe it could be worse.
Cool. All right. So, again, by its nature, this is that we're aligning as much as we can with universal truth. Now, I say that loosely because we're always only approximating that which we know to be true. But in that, which is interesting, that we're only approximating it, there's something in us, and I know we all can agree here, that knows what is true. Yes? Knows what is right, knows what is being honest. It's always important, first and foremost, that you take responsibility for being honest, transparent, and integral as a coach. Don't compromise on this. If you still have, a common one is money blocks or issues with feeling that you're doing it for a financial reason. Nothing wrong with receiving financial remuneration for what you provide as a service, but be very clear on that you wouldn't let that get in the way of doing something that is out of integrity, honesty, or not being completely transparent. Can we all agree on that? Okay. By the way, if there's anything anyone wants to say that's, I'm aware that there can become this group mentality, right? Where it's like, is everyone in agreement? It's like, okay, I'll put my hand up because, you know, everyone else in the room is. Like, own yourself enough to not agree if you don't. That's okay. That's cool. We can all learn and grow from that. Yeah, so basically I'm just going to read this one out, that when followed, these principles promote values such as trust, goodwill, fairness, kindness, and compassion. This is what builds sustainable relationships. no one in this room feels roped into being here, because you have all sensed that these values are what have brought you here. Yes?
Yes.
Cool. I'm not going to go through each item of these. I've just outlined them just so that we can be clear on them, of what it means to be responsible, honest, transparent, and integral. Professional standards and etiquette. Again, I'll let you guys go through this, but it's pretty obvious that we want to be punctual, neat and tidy. You could argue, well, I dress how I will, I won't be judged, I don't want to be judged. But the reality is that we are being judged by our clients before they can figure out how to get to a less judgmental mind. So bring yourself and present yourself in a way where that doesn't act as an obstacle to them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
As I said, it's not just always your responsibility to not judge me, so I come however I want, and if it's an issue for you, then it is for you. Like, no, like, don't make it an issue. Yeah, be presentable. You know, find your energy to be energized and engaged. Be organized for your session when you arrive. That shows that you care. If you're scrambling through your notes and you're like, oh yeah, oh, what'd you say? Oh yeah, last week you talked about, it's like, hang on, no. Like, review your last session, know what happened. Take the time to feel that you know where your client's at before you come to that appointment with them. Cool? Obviously, we want to be genuine, professional conduct and boundaries. I just want to point on this because this is a very important thing, that this is something that a lot of people struggle with building rapport in a way where you're not revealing about you. This is not about you. This is about them, and it's only about them every single time. For those of you who coach with me, I'm sure you feel that there's an affinity between us. But it doesn't come from you knowing a great deal about my life unless I'm speaking of it in a way that pertains to your life. I don't tell you what I get up to or what I'm doing, or, you know, I don't come into a session, oh yeah, on the weekend, yeah, I did this and that, and oh, you know, then I saw this dude fall off a motorbike and fuck, it was terrible, you know. It's like, no, like, now you've put something in them that they need to process. You want to come in so that they don't have anything to process about you. Does that make sense? So like I said, this doesn't mean that your sessions are superficial, that you're superficial. You're not superficial, but you're just not going into the depths of your life. It's not necessary. You know, talking about you, yeah, I had a good week. I had a lovely week with my family. I went to the beach. It was amazing. That's all. My dog lost his leg. You don't need to know that. Make sense?
Yeah.
Be Switzerland, be neutral, but personable. Is there anything anyone wants to ask about that? Because I feel that that's very important, this professional conduct and boundaries. No?
I have a question, please.
Yeah.
Go
for it, Laurie.
I guess in the instance, it's around boundaries, not so much our side wanting to share, but if the person we're working with seems to really want to know something personal about us, how we manage that so that we don't make it about us, but not reject them. Because I know, like, from other types of work and coaching that I've done, you know, when you build that rapport, it can often come from the other person, not so much us wanting to share about our life and take up that space. But, you know, it's that, yeah, I guess you could just do it. I'm guessing you just do it in a caring way and go, just make it very general and short, but maybe bring it back to, well, this is your time and space. So I'd like focus on that. I mean, I'm guessing that's how we would manage that if that person wanted to engage with our personal life, I suppose. Just that
Sure, yeah.
connection, I suppose, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk more about this holding the frame next week. But the biggest thing about people, if they're encroaching on us, it's probably because we've invited them in. And I wouldn't say probably, it is because we have. And that's something that maybe we need to work on ourselves if that happens.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's okay. We need to find our voice to be able to be caring, not careful, careless. That's the careful, careless, like, oh, you know, I'm trying to be careful around you, or I'm just careless and invite you into every space of my life. But that is something that you'll learn more from holding a frame. And you're right, it happens in every workplace. You see people all the time crossing boundaries of professional conduct. They don't know how to build rapport without, you know, busting those boundaries. And that's why pretty much every workplace has HR departments getting involved with, you know, some kind of harassment claim of some sort. So just that's why I say it's very, very important, because you're working on such a personal level with people that you just really hold that space of never making it about you. And like you say, Laurie, if anyone ever did try to encroach, of course I recognize, okay, maybe it's my responsibility, I've done, not maybe I have done something here, but to just put your loving boundary up immediately to say, yeah, you know, like I would just love if we could continue, like you said, to speak about you, because this is your time and this is for you to get the most out of this.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
No worries. Confidentiality, we already talked about that between us, but obviously that is so important that this confidentiality is upheld. When I say that, I also mean that we don't speak to our family or friends about people, even if we don't use their name energetically, we're speaking about them. The best practice as a coach is if you can drop whatever goes on with your client the minute after. Please don't take this as that it means that I don't care about my clients, but honestly, the moment I've walked out of my session and my session is like downloading to send to them, and I go outside and ground my feet on the ground and do whatever practice I need to come into my centeredness, by the time I come back to my computer, I pretty much forget who I had a session with. And I'm like, who did I just speak to? It doesn't mean that I don't care. It's that it's not my life. It's their life. I have my life to care for my life. Does that sound like we all understand that? That it's got, yeah, it's not set out of not being loving. Cool. All right. Okay, so I'm going to touch on this working with energy. Ascension. Like I said, so all this, I'd love for you guys this week to go and read this. Make your own notes about it if you want to. Okay. Sorry, I'm just mindful of like not taking too much time tonight because there's a lot of this content, as you can see. Essentially, what I want to summarize about working with energy is that we all are aware of the Hawkins scale of ascension. Mm-hmm. You guys know this scale of ascension?
Yes.
In this, we can say that everything is following the same frequency wave across the entire universe. So even if someone were to say they're enlightened, well, you are still following the same laws of the universe. It's just that your wave seems to be going like this, and it's so like this, as in that it looks like that, like looking into a candle. It's like that thing just looks like it's stationary, but it is moving. And so everything is just energy. But there is a tipping point in our energetic self, our torus field of energy, where when we go past that density of energy, we experience it as light, that there's a lightness to it. So it's no coincidence that we use language to describe someone as that dude was heavy. Like if we come across someone who's like dark, or even dark, or dark dude, or like, because that's how it feels when we're in lower frequency emotions. They go like this, and in those peaks and troughs, it looks much like if you imagine someone in a rowboat on a furious ocean of 20-foot waves. It's a scary place to be. At times it feels maybe exhilarating, and that can be very addictive to a lot of people. And a lot of people live in addictive patterns of frequencies because this is how they've been living their whole life. In some studies of neurology, of poking around in different parts of the brain that light up, over a study across a few different brains touching on regions, when doctors, neurosurgeons would touch the point in the brain of frustration, most people found that to be the place that they enjoyed the most.
Wow, that's strange. I have to just say that that's strange.
Is it?
Well,
let's flesh it out. What's the common feeling if you're in a casino?
overstimulation.
Yeah, well, it's probably a lot of frustration, right? Most people leave that place not winning.
Oh, I'm not a gambler, so I
Okay,
probably.
so people believe that people who gamble are addicted to winning, but people don't win when they gamble; they lose. They're addicted to losing.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
You see, we're addicted to the patterns that we know in our lives, and we're going to come to this when we talk about survival. But what keeps you surviving is what you know. That's what's familiar, and that's what you find comfortable. There was a question.
So survival, does that equal struggle, which equals frustration?
Not struggle. Survival is not struggle.
No? Okay.
Survival is the opposite of struggle because it's familiar. I know how to survive. That's not hard, is it? Is it hard for the person who lives off the dole, who shares 3 roommates, to live that way? It's not a struggle for him. That's what he knows. That's what he's comfortable with. The struggle for him would be to change that situation. That would be a struggle.
Good point.
Yes?
Yep.
Okay. There was a woman in Switzerland who was abducted as a child, lived in the basement of a house with a few other children. They grew up into being adults. At 22 years old, you can imagine, like, she's been captive so long. There were many times there was no, how do I put it? The conditioning of it was that she wasn't going to leave, so the house was open. But one day, one of these girls got it in her to leave. The struggle, and she did. And this guy went to jail forever, and she won a payout, this huge payout. She's been in this place since she was 5 till she was 22. What did she do with the money? She bought that house, and she moved into that basement.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Okay? This is what's familiar. We're pulling people out of what's familiar, and what is familiar is comfortable. My survival mechanism has learnt this pattern, and I can do this forever. Anyone seen The Life of Pi?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay?
The
Dude
Life
gets to
of
this.
Pi.
Yeah, The Life of Pi.
That's a movie?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
film. It's a book as well.
Mm.
I'm more of a movie buff than a reader, though, so.
Yeah.
How do you spell pi? P-I-E?
PI.
PI, just PI.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this film, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but he goes down with a sinking ship. He's in a little rowboat. He's out in the middle of the ocean. He's surviving. He gets to an island where there's plenty full of food, but it's not home. It's not comfortable.
Oh, but I'm frozen.
Okay.
Oh.
He has to make a decision to leave. Because, yes, he can continue to survive there, but it's not the hero's journey. We'll talk about that. The hero's journey is when we get out of that. Okay? You make a decision. I'm not doing this anymore. That's uncomfortable. Yeah?
So, Carl, your point about the people wanting, or majority liking, that feeling of frustration, where does that come from?
It comes from the conditioning that most people live in. On the Hawkins scale of ascension, in a huge study of measuring people's EEGs, which is electroencephalographs, to see the consciousness of people, the frequency people live in, the medium of humanity seems to sit at 150 hertz, which is frustration.
Okay.
This is where most people live. This is where most people are comfortable. This is why most people on the roads are just, get out of my way. Yeah. So our job is to pull them out of that frustration. But obviously, we must meet them there. We're not disowning anything in us. We can't move by disowning anything in us. We have to love our way to love. We cannot fear our way to love. So someone said earlier, a quote, any day my ego something, my soul has a good day.
When it's a bad day for the ego, it's a good day for the soul.
Okay,
cool.
Now I understand that quote, and I'm not going to rip it apart in way of putting shit on the author or whoever came up with that. There's also a book that a friend of mine had recently, and the title was Ego is the Enemy. Now, I'm just here to say we need to put words to things, that we cannot get to being whole and complete in ourselves by being at war with any aspect of ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because any act of war leads to a fight. Every single time. Every single time. So we're not here to be in a fight with our ego either. In fact, every time we are in a fight and we think that we're killing our ego, or I won the war with my ego, is ego. Because only ego is at war. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're here to drop every fight that you have.
And it's also too, Cole, like a lot of us are programmed by a certain way of thinking, and we think ego is bad, but it actually can be good, because it puts fire in the belly as well. It gets us going, and there's some, the transpersonal side of things. It is more of the hero's journey and everything as well with that. So.
Yeah, I hear you, Angie, and I agree. Yeah, it has its place in the human experience, absolutely. But that kind of fire in the belly, and again, we need to use language. So I'm mindful of that. I'm not trying to disagree with what you're saying in way of, if I say that is only necessary as long as we're in some kind of survival in ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that okay that I say it in that way?
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like I say, we're here to own all of it. So you're not here to try to snuff that fire out. As long as that's there, it's there. But you're going to transcend something in yourself where you're going to be seeing that in you as something that's in you. Someone said to me just today, she had this a client that dawned on her. She said, I've been telling myself I'm fat. She's like, but that would be like saying, I'm toe. I'm not my big toe. I have a toe. And so I have fat on me. I have fat. I am not fat. And I was like, that's amazing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also believe, just as an idea, that obviously language is such a slippery slope, and
Yeah, for
and
sure.
probably the primary thing with coaching is, yeah, that language being quite key, because we all perceive things differently to start out with. So you can actually have a really kind thing said to you, but because of our own wounds or whatnot, we actually hear it in a different manner. So I'd imagine language is really key.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Laurie. And that's why when we speak from our hands. Do you want clarification on that, Laurie and Lauren, at this point?
Yes, that would be great, because I didn't really get to touch on that.
Yeah.
I think when you talk your hands, you're meaning heart, your heart, our heart space. Is that what that's how I was interpreting it. So maybe clarity would be good.
Awesome. Is everyone okay with if I offer a bit of clarity for Lauren and Laurie on this, because they haven't been through the coaching?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You'll see it pertains to the 3 parts of the mind that we'll get to, but there's a space within you that where you're not in your thinking mind, that you access when you're in what's called hyperfrontality, which is what opens up to flow and synergy. And that's where the hemispheres of the brain are largely distributed in the blood flow that leads to a certain connection that you have in your neural network. That is that you're out of what's called the logical analytical mind, and you're in your inspirational aspirational self, which is where you connect to the field. When we talk about being in our hands, right from the beginning of this coaching journey, we invite our clients to come into their hands, because right now, if you were to just sit where you are, all of you, I invite you to do this. Then close your eyes and just have your hands out, maybe in front of you, so they're hovering in mid-space. Recognize that you can feel where your hands are without thinking it. Laurie, if you would do this now.
Yeah.
So just feel that you can feel your hands, but you don't have to think where they are. There's a knowing of what they are, where they are. You just feel. Don't think it, just feel. Keep feeling and relax. You see, the more you relax, the more you let go of any tension, the deeper your attention can come into your hands. And as you're here in your hands where you are now, there may be a mind that is talking and chattering, but you're not entertaining it. You're just here feeling your hands. And then as you're here feeling your hands, you'll realize that you can understand what I'm saying perfectly fine without thinking it, and without holding on to any words that I'm saying to try to figure out what I'm saying. You can be in the flow of each word as it arises, and let it go as it passes, and fully understand everything I've just said. Can you feel that, Laurie?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. In actual fact, any moment you're here in your hands where you are now, and this is how simple it is, that it literally took me maybe a whole of a minute 30 to explain it. When you're here in your hands where you are now, you're healing. Every cell of your body is healing. because you're not giving energy to your story. Keep feeling your hands. What story? Can everyone feel that quality of mind that shifts from being here in their hands? Just raise your hands if you can feel that.
It's actually very hard to describe if I tried to. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And this is the foundation of this work. This is where we come back to. And this will be all through this work. So for Lauren and Laurie, I'd recommend that this week that you spend some time being in your hands. And just daily, just be here. And I can tell you that everything I share, I've spoken to tonight and from, has just been from my hands. I'm not planning it. I'm not thinking what I'm going to say next. Synchronicity, staying in your hands.
Wow.
Yeah. So, self-care. The importance of someone's mic is echoing. I'm not sure who it is, but I can hear myself like blah, 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 like a stadium. I've already gone over what I promised you guys, 1:15.
We'll forgive you this time.
Okay. I'm just going to holding the frame. Okay. I'm going to go straight to this because all of this I feel that you guys can really understand, like caring for your clients, moving from judgment to love. We all understand this. Holding the frame, I just want to say that this is, again, it's important for a number of reasons that we do what's called holding the frame. If I am the captain of a ship and the passengers on my ship perceive that I feel incompetent as a captain of this ship, what's going to happen?
Jump ship.
Especially if I'm sailing that same path that the Titanic went on.
They get very nervous.
Exactly. Now, the moment your clients get nervous, they don't trust you. They feel afraid. They shut down. And at best, they're going to start to challenge you. So it's very important that you, again, like be guided from your hands. And I know this might be a bit new for you, Lauren, but as you said, it's a very different feeling. But familiarize yourself with it, because this is where you hold the hell most steady. You'll see as we talk about it more, the 3 parts of the mind. Everyone who's been through the coaching with me knows what that means because we've talked through it. But essentially, your capacity is so incredibly limited from trying to use your own intellect compared to being connected in the field. The analogy I use is it's like you've got a USB stick and that's your mind. It's connected to you. Donk, it's connected to me. No matter how much I upgrade this to a 256 gig or 1 terabyte or even 10 terabytes or 100 terabytes, it's still only limited to the capacity of what's in this USB. But if I do the opposite and I open myself up to the field, which is like the internet, all of a sudden I have access to infinite possibilities. And of course, the internet is still limited to some extent, but compared to USB, it holds trillions and trillions and trillions, trillions of trillions to a power maybe of 15 terabytes of information. And this is how you are when you serve from the place of being in your hands. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So hold on to that. The consequences of losing the frame. I'll let you guys read through this on your own. Caring for yourself, like I said, is very important, and I'd like to see you all this week. I'd like to think that most of you are having these as practices in your lives, to have a daily meditation, to ground yourself regularly, and to eat nourishing foods as much as you can. Recognize that when you're not eating nourishing foods, you're probably emotionally feeding yourself, and that's okay. We're not here to not allow everything to arise. But if this becomes patterns, well then, dare say we're probably stuck in some lower levels in ourselves. So just be mindful of these things, hydrating yourself, having physical movement, using prana, that deep breathing, to awaken and energize yourself. Your sacred connections and relationships to other people and to the world and to the earth. Recognize those things that are harmful. Electrical frequencies. If you're not turning off your Wi-Fi at night, begin that as a habit, as a ritual. You might want to get yourself some things, particularly when you're coaching, things like Tesla plates to protect yourself from electromagnetic radiation. Himalayan salt lamps can help. Blue blocking glasses. Now I haven't put mine on tonight, but you know, these things here that help block out blue light, especially if you're coaching in front of a screen all day. You don't want to be spiking that. You can read all about this in more depth than what's in this manual if you want to go into it. But these are all things that I can recommend. Next week, we'll pick up from here, protecting yourself and untethering yourself, because you're going to want to know that as you go into coaching next week. But you can read ahead on this if you want. I would love if you guys dive into the manual as much as you want. But please, if you will, I'd love if you guys could meet me next week in that you've read up to I know there's a lot of reading in this first week, so I acknowledge that. Okay, there won't be as much in the following weeks. Is everyone okay to do some reading this week?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Cool. But if we can read up until, let me get to it. The energy centers, okay? You'll see there'll be pretty pictures of the root chakra, then you'll keep going on. Before this, please, if you can read up to the energy centers, I would love if you guys could read up to that point. There's one video that's about maybe 10 minutes long. That is a YouTube clip that I will post in the Facebook group for you guys to watch. I'd love if you guys watch that, because it's a very, very easy way of explaining this guy, Dr. Quantum, his name is, as a cartoon for little kids to understand what's called the double slit experiment. Anyone heard of that experiment?
Yep.
Yeah, it's friggin' amazing. But we'll touch on that next week. We'll talk about from there about that experiment and how it pertains to this coaching. We are talking about the quantum field. And so how does this quantum stuff work? It's really, really fascinating. It's very interesting. So yeah, so if you guys can read up until that point, and as you read it, read from your hands. We learned this in the coaching, that when you're in this state where you are in your hands, you're learning, and this is proven. This is like a teacher in Canada who made this study, where she showed that not through the hands, but what the hands brings you to, which is a brainwave state of alpha, theta, delta. When the brain is in that state, learning goes from around 400 to 500 repetitions to 4 to 15 repetitions. Not only that, but it is retained. So when you go through and read through this manual this week, just be in your hands, even use your finger to guide if you're that kind of reader that likes to speed read things in that way. But just be present for it. Make any notes you want, and make also notes of any questions that you have. If there's anything that feels unclear or you'd like to speak about it next week, then let's talk about it so we can all get clarity on what we're doing here. Like I said, let's be progressive about this. Let's not skip any steps. Let's be progressive. Let's have that beginner mind and just like be in that frame to absorb. Is everyone okay with that?
This session, are they recorded?
Yes, this session will be up in that Facebook group as well. So you'll be able to listen back and rewind, review, skip ahead, skip back and forth, listen to anything that you want to listen to more of or missed or anything like that. Cool. But thank you so much. I have really gone over quite a lot tonight. I know that there's been a lot that we've absorbed already in this first session. How's everyone feeling about so far?
Excited.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Good. Excited.
Fantastic. Yeah, I promise it'll get less of me talking in time. I've spoken a lot tonight, and I appreciate you guys listening. But yeah, as you guys get into the practice of it, that's when it really starts getting really fun to put these practices and principles into, real-time functionality.
Excellent.
Does anyone have anything that they want to share, ask, get clarity on, anything?
Possibly just some more information on the being in your hands. Is there anything I can read up on that?
Yeah, great question. Do you feel unclear on coming into your hands?
I see it as possibly being a meditative experience. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The reason I would say probably I wouldn't, aside from Ali sharing with you her session recordings where you get guided into your hands in the very first session. Aside from that, and we can talk about in the context of training, but we don't share it more beyond that until a little bit later in the stages of the coaching, not even calling it a meditation, because we don't want to make it into something that we're doing, because meditation is not a doing, it's a state of being. And so we don't want to put a label to it, because as soon as someone labels it, there's that chance that they're like, okay, now I'm doing my hands. Okay, I'm doing this. It's like, no, you're not doing it. You're being it. It's who you are and what you are. And that's the experience that, at least when we go through the coaching, when I take people through, you start to feel that more as who and what you are. So it's not just your hands. It's essentially what I am. Can anyone confirm that as their experience here?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
When
Yeah.
you are in your hands,
Yes.
do you Okay, so I'm reading the book, for example. Are you reading and also, I guess, appreciating the feeling of your hands?
Not in the direct sense of that you are focused on a feeling of appreciation. You're simply, it's, I hear what you're saying, Eleanor, and it's beautiful. If that feeling is there, it's there, is all I can say. But we're not attaching ourselves to a feeling of that is the feeling that is there.
It's more like an awareness, isn't it, Carl?
Yeah, I think that's probably a way to say it, Brian. Yeah, that it's more, and a feeling of appreciation might be there. Does that make sense? Because that's something that might arise in that awareness, but you're not holding on to that, because the moment we hold on to appreciation, we cling ourselves to something, and now we're not in that awareness. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So is it an allowing, just an allowing?
That's probably another good way of speaking it.
So it's just being aware that my hands are there and feeling the way they are while doing something.
Yeah.
That's what it is?
Yeah. It'll become more familiar to you in time. It's one of those things where to say more about it would probably box it in. All I can say is, if that moment ago when we did it together, if you got there where you could feel your hands, then that's all you need to know about it.
Mm.
There's nothing else to know about it.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I know that during my coaching, I was really struggling to go in my hands because I could feel a lot in my chest.
Okay, yeah.
And so sometimes my chest still is more feeling that my chest than my hands.
Yes. And that's exactly why we don't go to the chest or to the heart. People want to feel into their heart. They're like, well, why don't I just feel into my heart? Well, because you might have shit around your heart. So don't go to your heart. Go to the most neutral space, the space that just feels just neutral. Like, because again, like I say, what you feel is not important.
Mm.
You're not here to have some kind of place some kind of importance and some kind of experience or part of your life. That is what leads to suffering. The moment you attach yourself to anything in your life, no matter whether your mind labels it good or bad, is ultimately going to lead you away from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I see this as a bit of neutrality, where you just have a sense of no judgment, just being.
Exactly. That's another way of saying it. Yeah. So whether I judge it good or bad, it's still a judgment. Whether I'm like, oh, hallelujah, finally I've arrived. Ah, so good, I'm here. Well, fuck, I'm not going to want to leave here. Right? And then when something seemingly bad arrives, I'm going to go, no, you're not invited. No, I didn't invite you to come back. No, I want that bliss. And there you are, stuck again. Does this make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah. All I can say is, again, like, live it as much as you can. And then you won't question it. This is your holding your helm as a coach. Live it. Your certainty will far exceed anyone's doubt then, because what is there to doubt? Okay, you're telling me some doubts. Okay, I hear that. You're telling me I can't because I've gone through this. Okay. And that doesn't mean anything to me. It just means you got a great story that you're wanting to hold on to right now.
Yeah.
You're clinging to something. If I cling to nothing, then I don't even cling to that you're clinging to a story. It doesn't mean anything to me. And then if I hold that space as a coach for my client, they feel that. They're like, holy shit, this guy's not clinging to anything. I'm not saying it makes me better or worse. I'm just telling you that if you're here, you'll be in harmony. That's all I have to offer you. Or try to help you to offer yourself. So make that offering to yourself as much as you can. That is the only one commitment of all of this. Start there, and later on you may progress into other meditations from there. I'm getting that everyone's feeling this more now, yes?
Mm.
You guys are starting to really understand more. People come into coaching and they want this experience of life. It's very narrow. It's very specific. If my life could be like this, then it would be a 10 out of 10. I'm not interested. I bring them in with that. I get it. That's what their mind wants. But my interest is not in helping them get that in their life. It's to get them to broaden what is acceptable in their life to where it starts to encompass where they are already standing. You're already there. You just got a fantasy about that it's over there. But how sustainable is that? Okay, so I coach you and I help you to get there. Well, now you're shit scared that you're going to lose it. Does that help you? Does that help you to get happy? Not really. I get in an ice bath a few times a week and it's really cold and it's not comfortable. But I do it because it opens up my spectrum of where I can feel comfort or where I can accept that this is a part of the condition of what I'm living. If any of you are interested in reading more about this, there's a great book by Viktor Frankl called A Man's Search for Meaning. It's about a psychologist that goes through the Holocaust. He recognizes two types of survivors. Those who didn't perish were those who had hope of a future of reconnecting with their wife or husband or their children and their business and their friends, and kept that dream kept them alive. And there were those who accepted the situation here. They broadened their spectrum of what was acceptable. When these two types of people came out, the people who held on to a hope and a dream, when they realized that it wasn't there, their wife had died maybe, their children were gone, they never reconnected with them, their business was screwed, all their money gone off to a Swiss bank account they'll never touch. A lot of those people committed suicide. But those who had built the resilience in themselves came out, and their circumstances when they were, hallelujah, they're better than they were. Well, maybe even they're not even better or worse. I don't attach myself to anything. Does that make sense?
What's the name of this book again?
A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. So I know I've gone a little bit over again to drive that point through, but it is very important. I'm glad that it's been raised so early because it is the crux of this. Think about it. If you have attachments in yourself, you have attachments for your clients. If you have attachments for them, you have judgments. You have judgments of where you think they should go and how their journey should be. And now you have a path you want to take them down. Versus this has, I have nowhere I intend on taking you. Just inviting you into a space in yourself where I have found in myself the most harmonious place to be. And through people I've coached is the most harmonious place to live from. Makes sense? Cool. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for clarifying being in your hands, Laurie, so that this came up. Ali, oh yeah, what I'll do is I'll share, if everyone actually can jump in the Facebook group and share their contact, their phone number and their email. And in that way, Ali, if you wouldn't mind sharing at least session 1 and session 2 with Laurie and Lauren, so they can hear a little bit about how the hands are presented. and start applying that, and just being in that. Like, who was it? Was it Lauren? Where you? Oh no, Laurie, you said it just feels different.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Essentially, what you're feeling, Laurie, is the field. I can just say that.
Okay. Yeah, the closest thing I could think of was space.
Yeah. And it's alive, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
vibrantly alive. It's not like you went there and you became brain dead. Like, oh, what the bug? And oh, just blanked out. No, like you were there. Like you're here. Like, whoa. This is like, yeah, I don't turn into a vegetable if I don't think.
Right. Yeah.
And that's where life has an intention and a purpose that can live through you. And only then are you truthful when you say, God, put me where you will. You know, like just use me. I can't be used as long as I have a direction where I want to go. That's my will. That's not God's will. No, fuck that, God. I'm not going there.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so grateful to share this space with all of you. What a beautiful group you are. Beautiful people. We're all in this to grow and to learn and to feel that connection to our truth, our love. So thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you heaps. Thank you.
And nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, it is.
Nice to see you again, Laurie.
You too.
If any of you guys need anything, please do reach out. And if it's something that you don't want to share in the group, you can always contact me directly as well. That's completely fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the night, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes,
Bye.
you too.
Enjoy your birthday, Laurie.
Thank you.
Yes, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Yeah, have a lovely
Bye.
night. My son's birthday today too.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Good night. Thank you.